Hello, and welcome to Social Workers Rise, where we inspire social workers to connect, expand their knowledge, and change more lives than they ever thought possible. We will talk everything social work on every level from micro to macro. We are going to hear stories of social workers who are doing big things, learn new skills, and most importantly, give you actionable steps to make a difference today. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Social Workers Rise. We are here with Dr. Nashira. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. I'm happy to have you here too. So I'm really excited. So you actually applied to be a guest on the podcast for forensic social work, which you have a lot of experience in. But once I started creeping on your social media and going to your website, I said, oh my gosh, we are not going to talk about forensic social work because you are an expert mental health media consultant.
Yes.
Tell me, we want to know, okay, just give us a short, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so the quick spiel is, obviously I'm Dr. Nashira Kayode, and I do both forensic work, I do contracts. I have a couple of contracts with the state and with San Bernardino County here where I live locally. And but the fun job that I do is serving as a media consultant for all things mental health, which includes providing commentary for magazines and articles and things of that nature, consulting with NAMI on different topics, as well as what I'm going to get into is television, being on reality shows and being the therapist on those type of shows. I have a dating show that's going to be coming up soon.
Okay, Dr. Nashira, this blows my mind. How in the world do you even get started in this?
So I actually have only been doing this for about a year. Just after, countless years, being burned out and, all that typical stuff that social workers go through, but also wanting to do something meaningful. Obviously doing forensic social work, you see people kind of at their lowest. For many people, we see them, once their mental illness has become extremely severe and now they're involved in the criminal justice system, and all of those things. And it can just be, very sad and disheartening. So my idea was I wanted to do something that was more fun, something that was a little bit more creative, and something that kind of, also promoted mental health, but kind of, help decrease that stigma and, kind of answering that forever social work question is how can we reach people before they get sick, before it's so bad that, we see them in the criminal justice system. So I decided I would, kind of take a turn in my career and see what else is out there and what else I can do. And the short answer is really just diving in and figuring it out along the way. I've met a lot of wonderful people that, can help, and link you and direct you to different areas. But the short answer is really kind of just jumping out there and navigating it.
So I'm having a really hard time seeing, okay, how do we go? Because I want to know, and I know our listeners want to know, how do we go from having a normal social work job to being an expert mental health media consultant? That seems like such a big jump. I mean, I'm wondering for you, you said to just get started, but what I don't even know how to get started. Did you hire a coach? Are you just cold emailing and cold calling people? Break this down for us a little bit.
Okay. So initially I did what social workers do and did a lot of research, right? So first I just dived in and said, just started looking at other people that are doing similar things. Oh, that looks really great. That looks really fun. a lot of things I've done have been like cold calling, cold contacts, literally. Um, hey, I like this article. I see this producer does a lot of stuff that has to do with mental health, or even just true crime or anything like that, and cold pitching. So I have done quite a bit of that, and it does take a lot. The response rate is not as great as what you put out there. But I have done quite a few like really fun things already, just in the short time that I've kind of really devoted more time to doing this. As far as kind of the expert piece, we get that in our real job, right? So, social workers are some of the most um, professional, experienced people, because we get to see a lot, we get to do a lot, we work in various settings that gives us a lot of information, and so we really all are already the expert. Now it's just a matter of getting it out there and letting the rest of the world know, hey, what we've been doing behind the scenes, and what we've been doing in the trenches, all of these years, and kind of just demonstrating that and bringing that out to the forefront, so the rest of the world knows that's what we've been doing, and that's what we do as a profession. I have done coaching. I found a couple of programs where there are people that will, help give you plans for how to do social media posts. I've seen some for how to do Facebook ads, if that's what you want to do. But there's, a lot of people out there that, will help along the way. And there's also, a lot of just information you can find on your own and research, and, learn how to do. There's different like communities you can join that help link you to journalists, and then the journalist will post when they're looking for someone to help write about this topic or that topic, and then you can respond to them that way. I've seen, I haven't used those yet, but there's different similar things for if you want to be on podcast, and things like that. But a lot of it is kind of, just using that social work hustler spirit, and, just reaching out to people and making those personal connections.
Yes, that's okay. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. I'm wondering, with your work, what would you say is like the most challenging part of being, a media consultant?
I think a lot of it is, there's still a lot of stigma with mental health. So a lot of times, we're working to kind of connect those dots between, whatever's going on in everyday life, and, helping people to see, oh, that's where mental health can come in. A lot of what there is and is not. One thing that I found really surprising, most of my career, I worked for the county, I worked for the state, and in those systems, you're kind of, um, you're already kind of set with the professionals, you're set with your people. So when I kind of got out here to the media and said, let me expand my world, one of the things that I found most interesting was um, that I guess because maybe this is kind of an untapped field, or maybe a lot of us are doing more traditional type of social work, that the people that are left on the outside as the experts aren't really actually the experts.
Interesting.
So I found that to be pretty interesting. And I figured it's because, well, the rest of us, I guess, are in the trenches most of the time doing the real work. So, we don't really have time to say, hey, media outlet, hey, Cosmo, hey, Essence, here we are, and so a lot of that gap has been filled with people that maybe aren't so much the experts.
Yes. And I've seen that. And that was part of my motivation and inspiration for pursuing public speaking and putting myself out there in the more like to the more general public, because I kept seeing all these people who would call themselves mental health advocates. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is that? Like, so, okay. I mean, I get, we have mental health struggles and it's beautiful that you want to share your story, but you're not actually trained in anything. And some of the information that they were putting out there is actually harmful
Yeah.
and toxic and not trauma informed. And it makes me cringe. And I'm like, oh gosh. So if they could do it, I'm thinking, okay, as a licensed mental health therapist, right? Like we could
Yeah.
definitely do this for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see the same thing. And like, that's where on the days that I'm like, do I really want to do this? Or, this is a little hard because it's, a lot of self-navigating, but yeah, there's a lot of people out there that have had quite a bit of success, but, don't truly have the credentials. I've even seen people that don't have the education, definitely don't have, licenses or licensure or even on that track. Um, yeah, that are putting out a lot of information that's not useful. And I'm like, yeah, there needs to be more of us, filling that gap because we are truly the experts and we have been doing the work. And, it's time we let the world know what we've been doing.
Hey, it's Catherine here. I hope you are enjoying this episode. We're going to take a quick break to listen to these ads from our sponsors. Do you want to make your own podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And this is the platform that I use because it makes it so simple to record and distribute your podcast all in one place using your cell phone. What you need to do is download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. If you're planning to take the BBS Law and Ethics exam, the ASWB Master's or Clinical Licensure exam, or if you're studying for the MFT exam, then you need a proven program that can help you understand the exam questions and pass with confidence. If this is you, I highly recommend the Therapist Development Center. I personally use TDC to pass my law and ethics and clinical exams and found the program provided me with everything I needed to pass with confidence. TDC's program integrates various ways of learning in an organized fashion, containing all of the information you need to pass without the overwhelm. And now, bonus, TDC is also offering a library of continuing education courses that fulfill your license renewal requirements and will support you in your career development. If this sounds like something that you need, visit their website, therapistdevelopmentcenter.com, and use the code SWRISE10 at checkout to receive 10% off any of their CE courses, including their brand new course, On the Edge of Life, an Introduction to Suicidality. You can also check out the link in the show notes. Definitely. And you've used this term expert a couple times now, just within our conversation. And I know that this really can be a barrier or kind of get in our way as far as at what point can we call ourselves an expert? Because sometimes people say, well, I've only been doing this, X amount of times. And I know someone else who's been doing it so much longer. They're so much better than me. At what point would you advise someone to say you can confidently call yourself an expert in this area?
I think that varies for everyone. But I think it's important for us to have perspective. So at the same time that we are questioning ourselves and our expertise and our experience, there are people with way far less that are out there saying they are the expert. Not that I think we should say we are if we don't truly believe we are. But oftentimes, I think that's important to put into perspective. And when we are speaking to, the community at large who has not, gone to school for 6, 7 years, doesn't have master level degrees, hasn't, done the hours for licensure and things like that. We definitely hold, a lot more knowledge, even, if you look at it that way, than a lot of people. I think it's a level of comfortability. I think that you will kind of know that when you start, um, looking around and really the research and, the other people that are the experts, comparing yourself to the people that, have established themselves as the expert in whatever piece of it. And sometimes it may just be, a piece of the puzzle. Obviously we can't be, you know, expert level in every single little piece of mental health, but feeling like you've reached a level of competency, you have a level of experience, and even maybe focusing on the piece that you do have the most competency in and experience in, that may be a way to, start feeling comfortable with that. In my experience, I actually have applied with like the Board of Behavioral Sciences and been deemed an expert with them on like forensic social work, and different topics that they do. So there's other, kind of avenues to kind of give you that, credential boosting of, you've been acknowledged as an expert by this entity or that entity, that I think,
Okay.
is also helpful if, you're feeling like, I want that, you know, uh, specific, piece and credentialing.
Right. That's really interesting. So what I'm hearing you say is if you have more knowledge of a topic than the general population, if you've done research, if you've done work around this area, and then also too, okay, I had no idea that this was even an option. So you said that you approached the BBS and were deemed an expert by them. How does that even work? You're just blowing my mind today. Tell me more about this.
So they actually are, at least in California, that's maybe different, in other states, but in California, they are always looking for experts and subject matter experts for when, various things arise. Some of the work that I've done are, helping to create the licensing exams and things like that. But I believe, that's something that they look for on an ongoing basis. So, it's a system that's already set up.
Wow, I'm going to have to do some research on that. Well, thank you, Dr. Nashira.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, cool. So we covered a lot. I'm wondering, what would you say is the best part about the work that you do?
Absolutely. The freedom is a huge part of it. For a long time, I, worked in government systems and, traditional 9 to 5 in the office type work. I love that this gives me, freedom of my schedule, freedom to, work when I kind of want to. I do a lot of work late at night in the middle of the night because that just works for me. But I'm able to write and, do those type of things then. It definitely helps with, burnout and just keeping that motivation to continue doing the work that we're doing, to kind of be able to see a more fun side of it and, not have to, we can still be of service without always, being so entrenched in kind of some of the harder pieces of mental health and social work.
Yes, yes, for sure. We're working smarter, not harder around here. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I do have one last question because you mentioned freedom, and freedom often is accompanied by money. And I'm wondering, what kind of, and I know this is like the most general freaking question in the world because there's such a wide range of pricing and services that you can provide. But for being a expert mental health media consultant, like what kind of income are we looking at or that we might be able to expect? Like, how would that work?
So a lot of it depends on, what you set your prices to. Um, I've seen, things on the low end. I've seen things that I haven't got up to. I've seen people that are charging, $10,000 for consultation services, which I
Okay.
haven't gotten to.
Mhm.
But I think there's definitely money to be made. I have been able to supplement, the income that I was making working, in systems with steady paychecks. And I think there's, even more money to be made. A lot of it is, how much do you want to do? There's definitely like a hustler aspect to it. So, the more you put yourself out there, the more people you contact, the more you do, clearly the more money you'll make, of course. Um, which is, up to you, up to how you want to do it. Obviously getting started can be a little tricky because there is that overlap, that you're going from here to that. So it's, you do have to kind of juggle that. I kind of have the consultation piece going for since 2017, and then just in 2022 I decided to kind of go with that full-fledged. So I took a few years to kind of build it up a little bit to that point where I felt like okay, I can sustain without it. I also was fortunate enough that I happened to get married last year, so that created a little bit more financial stability, that I had the freedom to, kind of do something different. So I think, just like for so many of us, and like we tell clients and everything else, that, there's certain seasons for different things. And so, you kind of have to see if it's something that will work out in your, in your life in the season that you're in now. For me also, I have two kids, but they're teenagers now. So one's 15 and one's 18. So that was also a deciding factor, that I was able to take a chance after, kind of doing the 9 to 5 thing for so long while I, raised them, and, just being a different season in my life. But I think it's definitely something that, you can plan for if that's not the season you're in yet. That doesn't mean it won't be. You definitely can plan for it, definitely look to it. But I think there's definitely tons of opportunity, and I only see that opening up more and more for social workers.
I love it. Well, thank you. And Dr. Nashira, I think I said it wrong earlier. I apologize. Dr. Nashira, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing your knowledge. Maybe we revisit forensic social work in the future, but I just had to bring you on because I love just sharing about different ways that we can use our social work skills. Because like you said, there's so many jobs that we can find for low pay and high burnouts. And it's almost like that's what we hear all the time in grad school. And the whole reason why I started this podcast, because I'm like, there has to be more. There has to be more for us, because I know for me personally, I did not get this much education and come this far to only get this far and to feel miserable. And
Yeah.
so I just love hearing stories like yours where you get creative, you're thinking outside the box, you're saying there's a problem here, right? Like there's
Mhm.
non-expert mental health people talking on mental health topics and saying, I can fill this gap and I can do this. And just, taking that big gigantic step to even start this is just so amazing. So, I really admire the work that you're doing. Where can we find you and connect with you?
So the best place is probably my website, which is Dr. Shy K. So Dr. and SHIKAY .com. And, all my information is there. I'm also on Instagram's Dr. Shy K. I'm also on TikTok, Nashira Kayode, PhD, LCSW. Yeah, so those are the best places to find me.
Great. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Social Workers Rise. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe and text this episode to a friend. If you want more, there are a few ways we can get to know each other and work together. First, definitely subscribe to the Friday resource email list. The link is in the show notes. And that's where you can learn more about the courses I offer, including Clinical Essentials for the Future Therapist and the Pulse Basics for Medical Social Workers. I'll also be sending out occasional tips and resources and other happenings within the social work industry. And for all your clinical supervision needs, be sure to visit risedirectory.com. This is a national directory of clinical supervisors for social workers, and we also provide free resources that you can use within your own clinical supervision. Lastly, if you have more individualized needs, I do offer coaching, individual consultations, and am available for public speaking engagements for social workers and change makers. Lastly, the boring legal stuff, but very important. The information in this podcast is not meant to be a supplement for therapy, professional advice, or clinical supervision. This content is provided as is solely for informational purposes. It is not legal, health, or safety advice. I am not advising you as a therapist. Organizations should engage their own experts to ensure any adopted measures are compliant with applicable laws and standards in their jurisdictions. The opinions expressed by individuals or organizations are their own and do not reflect the views or opinions of Social Workers Rise or Catherine Moore. References to specific products or organizations do not constitute any endorsement or recommendations by Social Workers Rise.